Hello. Today, I, Natalie, the Good Shepherd, here on my small hobby farm, I'm going to continue reading chapters 11 and 12 from Dr. Dolittle. My flock is quiet right now, so let's go ahead and jump right in, shall we? The 11th chapter, The Love-Struck Prince. By the edge of the river, they stopped and said farewell. This took a long time because all those thousands of monkeys wanted to shake John Dolittle by the hand. Afterward, when the doctor and his pets were going on alone, Polynesia said, "We must tread softly and talk low as we go through the land of the Jolliginki. If the king should hear us, he will send his soldiers to catch us again, for I am sure he is still very angry over the trick I played on him." "What I am wondering," said the doctor, "is where are we going to get another boat to go home in?" "Oh, well, perhaps we'll find one lying about on the beach that nobody is using. Never lift your foot till you come to the stile." One day, while they were passing through a very thick part of the forest, Chi-Chi went ahead of them to look for coconuts. And while he was away, the doctor and the rest of the animals who did not know the jungle paths so well got lost in the deep woods. They wandered around and around, but could not find their way down to the seashore. Chi-Chi, when he could not see them anywhere, was terribly upset. He climbed high trees and looked out from the top branches to try to see the doctor's high hat. He waved and shouted. He called to all the animals by name, but it was no use. They seemed to have disappeared altogether. Indeed, they had lost their way very badly. They had strayed a long way off the path, and the jungle was so thick with bushes and creepers and vines that sometimes they could hardly move at all, and the doctor had to take out his pocket knife and cut his way along. They stumbled into wet, boggy places. They got all tangled up in thick, convolvulus runners. They scratched themselves on thorns, and twice they nearly lost the medicine bag in the underbrush. There seemed no end to their troubles, and nowhere could they come upon a path. At last, after blundering about like this for many days, getting their clothes torn and their faces covered with mud, they walked right into the king's back garden by mistake. The king's men came running up at once and caught them. But Polynesia flew into a tree in the garden without anybody seeing her and hid herself. The doctor and the rest were taken before the king. "Ha ha!" cried the king, "so you are caught again. This time you shall not escape. Take them all back to prison and put double locks on the door. This man shall scrub my kitchen floor for the rest of his life." So the doctor and his pets were led back to prison and locked up, and the doctor was told that in the morning he must begin scrubbing the kitchen floor. They were all very unhappy. "This is a great nuisance," said the doctor. "I really must get back to Puddleby. That poor sailor will think I've stolen his ship if I don't get home soon. I wonder if those hinges are loose." But the door was very strong and firmly locked. There seemed no chance of getting out. Then Gub-Gub began to cry again. All this time, Polynesia was still sitting in the tree in the palace garden. She was saying nothing and blinking her eyes. This was always a very bad sign with Polynesia. Whenever she said nothing and blinked her eyes, it meant that somebody had been making trouble, and she was thinking of some way to put things right. People who made trouble for Polynesia or her friends were nearly always sorry for it afterward. Presently, she spied Chi-Chi swinging through the trees, still looking for the doctor. When Chi-Chi saw her, he came into her tree and asked her what had become of the doctor. "The doctor and all the animals have been caught by the king's men and locked up again," whispered Polynesia. "We lost our way in the jungle and blundered into the palace garden by mistake." "But couldn't you guide them?" asked Chi-Chi. He began to scold the parrot for letting them get lost while he was away looking for coconuts. "It was all that stupid pig's fault," said Polynesia. "He would keep running off the path, hunting for ginger roots. And I was kept so busy catching him and bringing him back that I turned to the left instead of the right when we reached the swamp. Shh, look, there's the Prince Bumpo coming into the garden. He must not see us. Shh, don't move, whatever you do." And there, sure enough, was Prince Bumpo, the king's son, opening the garden gate. He carried a book of fairy tales under his arm. He came strolling down the gravel walk, humming a sad song, till he reached a stone seat right under the tree where the parrot and the monkey were hiding. Then he lay down on the seat and began reading the fairy stories to himself. Chi-Chi and Polynesia watched him, keeping very quiet and very still. After a while, the king's son laid the book down and sighed a weary sigh. "However am I going to capture the moon?" said he, with a dreamy, faraway look in his eyes. Then the parrot, talking in a small, high voice like a little girl, said aloud, "Bumpo, Someone might know how to capture the moon, perchance. The king's son started up off the seat and looked all around. "What is this I hear?" he cried. "Methought the sweet music of a fairy's silver voice rang from yonder bower. Strange." "Worthy prince," said Polynesia, keeping very still so Bumpo couldn't see her, "thou sayest winged words of truth, for 'tis I, Tripsitinka, the queen of the fairies, that speak to thee. I am hiding in a rosebud." "Oh, tell me, fairy queen," cried Bumpo, clasping his hands in joy. "Who is it that can do such things?" "In thy father's prison," said the parrot, "there lies a famous wizard, John Dolittle by name. Many things he knows of medicine and magic, and mighty deeds has he performed. Yet thy kingly father leaves him languishing long and lingering hours. Go to him, brave Bumpo, secretly, when the sun has set, and behold, thou shalt carry the moon in a cup." "I have said enough. I must now go back to fairyland. Farewell." "Farewell," cried the prince. "A thousand thanks, good Tripsitinka." And he sat down on the seat again with a smile on his face, waiting for the sun to set. The 12th chapter, Medicine and Magic. Andy, what do you think? Are you enjoying this book, Andy? Very, very quietly, making sure that no one should see her, Polynesia then slipped out at the back of the tree and flew across the prison. She found Gub-Gub poking his nose through the bars of the window, trying to sniff the cooking smells that came from the palace kitchen. She told the pig to bring the doctor to the window because she wanted to speak to him. So Gub-Gub went and woke the doctor, who was taking a nap. "Listen," whispered the parrot. "When John Dolittle's face appeared, Prince Bumpo is coming here tonight to see you. And you've got to find some way to capture the moon. But be sure to make him promise you first that he will open the prison door and find a ship for you to cross the sea in." "This is all very well," said the doctor, "but it isn't so easy to capture the entire moon. You speak as though it were a pebble. It's not so simple. As long as the sun shines, one does not ask for the moon, you know." "I don't know anything about that," said Polynesia impatiently, "but you must find some way to do it. Think of a way. Think hard. You've got plenty of medicines left in the bag. He'll do anything for you if you can find a piece of moon for him to hold. It is your only chance to get out of prison." "Well, I suppose it might be possible," said the doctor. "Let me see." And he went over to the corner and began to think, murmuring something about, "There are stones, but not that I could find, or perhaps a plant." Well, that night, Prince Bumpo came secretly to the doctor in prison and said to him, "Sir, I am an unhappy prince. Years ago I went in search of the Sleeping Beauty, of whom I had read of in a book, and having traveled through the world many days, I at last found her and kissed the lady very gently to awaken her as the book said I should. 'Tis true indeed that she awoke and declared that she would like to marry me, but when I asked her father, he refused his blessing because he holds a grudge against my own father. I asked him many times until he finally told me that he wouldn't allow it until I could bring him the moon. So I came back full of sadness to my father's kingdom. Now I hear that you are a wonderful magician and have many powerful potions, so I come to you for help. If you will help me capture the moon, so that I may go back to the Sleeping Beauty, I will give you half my kingdom and anything else you ask." "Prince Bumpo," said the doctor. "Here's cash." Hold on, pause. I just can't even. These animals, at times, my own Dr. Dolittle here, it's just ridiculous. Look at him, Cash. What is even going on over there? He's trying to get my attention. I asked him many times until he finally told me that he wouldn't allow it. Until I could bring him the moon, so I came back full of sadness to my father's kingdom. Now I hear that you are a wonderful magician and have many powerful potions, so I come to you for help. If you will help me capture the moon so that I may go back to the Sleeping Beauty, I will give you half my kingdom and anything else you ask." "Prince Bumpo," said the doctor, looking thoughtfully out the window, "supposing you married her without his blessing, would not that do instead to make you happy?" "No," said Bumpo. "She will not have me if her father does not approve, and I love her dearly. Nothing but the moon will do." "You know it is very hard to hold the moon, even for a prince," said the doctor. "One of the hardest things a magician can do. You need to bring her father only a piece, do you not?" "Yes, that is all," said Bumpo. "Just a bit of the moon to show my devotion." "And you must be able to hold it?" asked the doctor. "Yes, and bring it to him," said Bumpo. "And I would like to give some to my love, too, but I suppose that would be very hard to do." "Yes, it would," said the doctor quickly. Well, I will do what I can for you. You will have to be very patient, though. I cannot very well capture the moon from in here. I need to be under the night sky. You can take me to the garden, perhaps, yes? Oh, but before I do anything, you must first go down to the beach and get a ship ready with food in it to take me across the sea. Do not speak a word of this to anyone. And when I have done as you ask, you must let me and all my animals free. Promise by the crown of Jolajinki. So the prince promised and went away to get a ship ready at the seashore. When the prince came back and said that it was done, the doctor asked Dab-Dab to bring a basin. Then he requested Bumpo take him to the king's gardens, which he'd seen before he was caught. The prince unlocked the prison doors, leading the doctor and his animals through the corridors. These sheep, until they reached the gardens. Upon arriving, the doctor looked around for something he'd noticed before. Yes, mused the doctor. Yes, I believe this is it. Prince Bumpo, bring the basin and look over here. So the prince joined the doctor, looking down at a bright white flower on a bush at the edge of the gardens. It was beautiful, wider than his entire hand, but the prince was still disappointed because this was not the moon. I do not understand, the prince admitted. This is a moonflower, the doctor said. I am surprised to see one here myself. They bloom only at night because they live off of the moonbeams they capture from the sky. At this, the prince's eyes grew wide. He stroked the flower, looking to the doctor for confirmation. Is that true? It is indeed, the doctor nodded. This flower contains moonbeams that you may bring to your love's father. You should take it, roots and all, and keep it healthy so you may create a garden of moonflowers that will continue catching pieces of the moon. The prince stared at it a long time, so long that the doctor seemed to get dreadfully anxious and fidgety, standing first on one leg and then on the other. Then the prince turned to him with a wide grin. With this I can marry my sleeping beauty. With relief, John Dolittle chose the smallest of the bushes and knelt down, helping him dig around the roots until it was free of its soil. Then, ever so carefully, he repotted the moonflower bush into the basin. The prince took the basin from him with shaking hands. Laughter bubbled from his lips, and he sang for joy and began dancing around the garden. Then the prince, pointing toward an open gate, told them where they could find the boat. And the doctor, with all his animals, ran as fast as they could down to the seashore, while Bumpo leaned against the wall of the garden, smiling after them happily, his face shining in the light of the moon. When they came to the beach, they saw Polynesia and Chi-Chi waiting for them on the rocks near the ship. I feel sorry that Bumpo had to go through all of this to marry the woman he loves, said the doctor. I am afraid that flower might not be enough for her father. Hopefully it stays healthy until the man sees it. But then again, perhaps her father will be turned by the gesture and they will have a happy life. To tell the truth, I wasn't sure that would be enough, but I had to do something, didn't I? I couldn't possibly scrub the king's kitchen for the rest of my life. It was such a dirty kitchen. I could see it from the prison window. Well, well, poor Bumpo. They had no business locking us up, said Dab-Dab, waggling her tail angrily. We never did them any harm. Serves him right if he doesn't get to marry the princess. I hope the flower dies. But he didn't have anything to do with it, said the doctor. It was the king, his father, who had us locked up. It wasn't Bumpo's fault. I wonder if I ought to go back and apologize. Oh well, I'll send him some candy when I get to Puddleby. The Sleeping Beauty should have him after everything he went through, said Polynesia. He has a good heart, agreed the doctor. Romantic, of course, but a good heart. I don't believe the poor man found the Sleeping Beauty at all, said Jip the dog. Most likely he kissed some farmer's wife who was taking a snooze under an apple tree. I wonder who he'll go and kiss this time. Silly business. Then the Push-Me-Pulley-You, the White Mouse, Gub-Gub, Dab-Dab, Jip, and the Owl Toot-Toot went on the ship with the doctor. But Chi-Chi, Polynesia, and the crocodile stayed behind, because Africa was their proper home, the land where they were born. And when the doctor stood on the boat, he looked over the side across the water, and then he remembered that he had no one with them to guide them back to Puddleby. The wide, wide sea looked terribly big and lonesome in the moonlight, and he began to wonder if they would lose their way when they passed out of sight of land. But even while he was wondering, they heard a strange whispering noise high in the air coming through the night, and the animals all stopped saying goodbye and listened. The noise grew louder and bigger. It seemed to be coming nearer to them, a sound like the autumn wind blowing through the leaves of a poplar tree, or a great, great rain beating down on a roof. And Jip, with his nose pointing and his tail quite straight, said, "Birds! Millions of them, flying fast, that's it!" They all looked up, and there, streaming across the face of the moon like a huge swarm of tiny ants, they could see thousands and thousands of little birds. Soon the whole sky seemed full of them, and still more kept coming. More and more. There were so many that for a little while they covered the whole moon so it could not shine, and the sea grew dark and black, like when a storm cloud passes over the sun. And presently all these birds came down close, skimming over the water and the land, and the night sky was left clear above, and the moon shone as before. Still never a call, nor a cry, nor a song they made, no sound but this great rustling of feathers that grew greater now than ever. When they began to settle on the sands along the ropes of the ship, anywhere and everywhere except the trees, the doctor could see that they had blue wings and white breasts and very short feathered legs. As soon as they had all found a place to sit, suddenly there was no noise left anywhere. All was quiet. All was still. And in the silent moonlight, John Dolittle spoke. I had no idea that we had been in Africa so long. It will be nearly summer when we get home. For these are the swallows going back. Swallows, I thank you for waiting for us. It is very thoughtful of you. Now we need not be afraid that we will lose our way on the sea. Pull up the anchor and set the sail. When the ship moved out on the water, Chi-Chi, Polynesia, and the crocodile, those who stayed behind, grew terribly sad. For never in their lives had they known anyone they liked so well as Dr. John Dolittle of Puddleby on the Marsh. And after they had called goodbye to him again and again, they still stood there on the rocks, crying bitterly and waving till the ship was out of sight. Chapters 11 and 12. We're more than halfway through the book. Thank you for anyone joining in on this fun little adventure. It's always fun here for me because, well, my flock is real. They have their own character, their own personalities, their own times of day where they get worked up and stuff like that. And they love when I read.